So, diolch yn fawr. Thank you, Gwen. So there's just to say that I'm not actually farming anymore. That's where I was. So you will we'll catch up and get that flat in a minute when I go through the presentation. So firstly, if I can just check that if you can get yourself a pen and a piece of paper or a notebook. As during this presentation, I'll be asking you to work on your personal development as we go along. So I'll be also asking you to type in the chat box and share with me some of your thoughts and beliefs, etc., as we go along. So it's a truly interactive session. So although we can't be together in person, we're online, but we're still going to do the work as we go along. So initially, just want to repeat a little bit then about what you've just heard. So my name is Lilwen Selina Joynson, and it's my pleasure to talk to you today about what I'm particularly passionate about, which is personal development. Before we get into that, let me give you some background into what led me to being interested in personal development. So as you heard, I'm born and bred in Pembrokeshire. I'm a mother of 3 and I've recently become a grandmother. So I was a horse-mad young girl and I loved cows, and milking cows and horses were my passion. And as you can see there, I'm sitting on a little pony called Tiddles back in 1974. Yeah, pony mad. So I was keen to leave school and as soon as possible. And I only knew farming really. So I went off to agricultural college in Gelliair in the 80s, then on to WAC in Aberystwyth. And from there, I got married at the very young age of 21. And my then husband and I started on our journey of business. And after a period of living in Warwickshire, where our 3 children were born, we were keen to come back to Wales to raise our children on our family farm. So to grow up around animals and farming life, that was important to us. So here we go. So some changes here. So press, replay, and start again. So everything changed for me in 2006. When my children were all leaving home to go to school and university, I got strong feelings of being alone and disconnected from everything. I became withdrawn and turned inwards and didn't communicate these feelings to anyone. I don't know if there is anyone here today who relate to this maybe. So as I said, it's interactive. So please, if you could chat it, type into the chat box and let me know as we go along. So I started to see a counsellor because that was the only way forward really to find out what was going on. And I was helped through that area of my life. There were some questions I was repeatedly asking myself. Who was I now? After being a busy mum and a busy farm to run with huge borrowings and a number of things that were happening at the time, and it's not like COVID, but BSc, poor cash flow, that sort of thing. You know, there was changes happening and I was going through a transition in my own life, really. So as often in the case of when the children were there, they were the glue and the reason for working so hard and long. So everything got a bit strained. So it resulted me leaving the family farm, unable to cope, and a year later going through a divorce after 23 years of marriage. And then here I go, having to press replay and start again. And there you see me there with Ben, my son, at my graduation, not his, so in my 40s. So I enrolled into Lampert University in 2007, then went on to Roehampton University in London to study integrative counselling. And you can see from there, I was very proud, and I think Ben was very proud as well at that point. So would personal development have helped me when I was going through an emotional and life transition? So that's a question. So I wonder if you could type into the chat box and play with me here, really, if you think it would. Because I'm a firm believer that if I hadn't had personal development at that point, it would have. So learning and developing is a life journey, and going inward to resolve any upsets before pointing any fingers of blame at others truly gets us to take responsibility, build integrity, and live from gratitude every day. That's the goal for me, to find inner peace and happiness in the small things. So I'm going to fast forward to the next one. So here we go. I've trained, and then I trained on and on into the, went and trained in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and then became an equine assisted therapist in 2012. Then to complete that section of my life, I did 2 years of team management and leadership program to lead teams in business. So currently, I'm a mentor for Mentor a Business and an agroscope facilitator. So I also have established my own CIC business called Horse Sense for Life, working with families and people with equine therapy and coaching. So recently, I launched my new business called Inner Sense Consultants, working holistically with businesses, focusing on getting them to really find their passions and work to their strengths, building in sustainability and developing a good work-life balance, replacing the old model of living to work to a new model of working to live. So I'm going to put a video, a 4-minute video. So sit back, enjoy.
Women, don't you know how powerful you are? Have you ever thought about what it takes to be a woman? My Italian mom took care of all the men in the family. So my mom was just a mom. I didn't really know a lot about the way women think. And when I had my daughter and just watched her, gosh, I mean, I have so much compassion for women. I think it's hardest to be a woman than any skin color. I think it's hardest to be a woman than anything else in the world because there's so much unconscious prejudice, because the biggest fear for men, whether they know it or not, is that a woman would outshine them. And that's a subconscious program. And when they do, they will lead. And in the new normal, women lead. And they show that women, if you look at a functional brain scan of a woman, I've looked at enough of them. When a man makes a decision, it's black and white. Yes or no. When they're resolving a problem, their brain never changes. It just doesn't change. You can whisper answers to them. Like your husband's trying to find a place to go, and you got the map or the GPS, and you're saying, turn, like, I'm going left. All right, go ahead. I'm not looking at that thing. I'll figure it out. Oh, really? Okay. And women are like, I got it right here. No, I'm going to figure it out. Okay, go. That's a man's brain. That's single-minded directive. Women, lightning storm. Like there's the whole brain is recruited. Like, bring in the jury. Bring in everybody. Let's everybody have a word here. And if you look at a functional brain scan of a woman, the whole entire brain is going. And it took me so long to figure this out. Why? Because women in antiquity took care of the young and the old. And when they had to make a choice, they didn't make the choice for themselves. They considered the whole. They considered the community. So they're looking at all possibilities simultaneously. Yes or no? And they get in touch. Listen to this. This is what makes women such great creators. They get in touch with the feeling of every experience before it happens. And they make the choice for the greatest good, for the best of the community, a selfless act. That is true leadership. That is true leadership, to consider the whole, to consider the community. That's why they communicate so well. Yes or no? And my goodness, I have powerful women in my life, and I just go. I don't want to get in the way of that storm. Just go. I'm just going to run behind you. Just whatever you do, I'm behind you. I'm with you. And men, don't you dare try to give your lady any advice when she's struggling. She does not want your advice. She wants your love. Just knock it off and just love her. So much easier. Just remember, all that, the love zone. Stay in the love zone. Stay in the love zone. So women, it's time to use all of those resources. Turn your love inward and lead. truly lead in a fearless state of knowing and step into that future. And don't care what anybody or anyone thinks. This is the time where women get to lead by example and to truly lead and to teach men how to lead. That's what I believe is in the new normal.
Okay, so women in agriculture, what do you say? Is it true? Is it time for you to lead? We are now in the new normal. So I say it's time. What do you say? Tap in the chat box. So that was JoeDispenza, Dr. JoeDispenza, one of my current mentors. He's a neuroscientist and one of the world leaders in quantum physics and science of the mind and brain. One of his books I highly recommend reading, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And you can find him on YouTube. I've attended one of his programs last year. I was due to attend his 7-day advanced in March, and now it's postponed till October. Have a look. And I want to say that one of his findings, the powerful finding that he's come up with, is how meditation can really make a difference. It gets you to overcome our limiting beliefs. So what he's saying, with these meditations, you can instruct your mind and the body via meditation into a new way of being. This takes discipline and really believing we can overcome ourselves and get out of the way for a new, more loving and abundant life based on love and not fear. I highly recommend this meditation that he has put together, Blessing of the Energy Centers. So that settles and aligns the mind and the body during a stressful period, such that we have been having with coming out of lockdown. And of course, if you can help your children meditate, show them by example how to lead. Make it a daily practice. It works. Dr. JoeDispenza has proven with scientific research that it works. So who have we got here? I think it's a beautiful photograph. In the new normal, women lead. Here is an example of a lady some of us, or a lot of us, may know. She's a farmer and a leader. And she's leading in an environment where men have been the front runners. Of course, Lilwen Williams, one of the directors of Mentor a Business. Can you see yourself here in the photo on your farm, in your business? Type in the chat box. Say yes, you are the change. When I was training in the Team Man Leadership Program, the saying we were often quoted by the senior trainers was, "Mama's not coming. You are the change." So I'm not able to look at the chat box, just to let you know. So I don't know if there's a way that I can do that. And I'm not sure.
We will try and get you to see them, but we have had some responses, which is fantastic to see.
It's a good time to share, I think. Can you share?
Yeah, no, I'll share. Someone says that the woman has always led, just clever enough that the man thinks it's his own idea.
Great.
So, which is quite right, really. You know, I'm not gonna go against that one. Yeah. And someone asked, can you expand more on NLP, please?
Yeah, neuro-linguistic programming. Yeah, it's well, it's as it says, really. So you're changing your thought processes, but there, if you go online, there is fantastic training on YouTube. I think it's you know, I've got too much to cover today to really expand on it, but it's a very, very simple way. It sounds very complicated. It actually isn't in practice, and it's a practice really of the way of speaking and being. So I highly recommend you go onto YouTube and check it out, or you know, send me a message privately and we can have a conversation about it. Thanks, Gwen.
No problem.
So we'll move on then. So let's now focus back on you, the leader in your business. So how could developing yourself benefit your business? So I want you to take your pen and paper. This is the point to take your pen and paper. And I want you to look at your negative beliefs. So I want to look at an area of your business that you might be developing at the moment, or a project that you're thinking about doing or you've started, or just a sector of your business. So the more narrow the subject, the better. So what I want you to do is start listing your negative beliefs. So I'll give you some examples. So for example, it could be a negative belief. It could be it's too hard. I don't have the money. My partner will not agree. And it could be something like it's too risky. I can't do it. Could be something like I always fail. Or it could be it's not the right time with the restrictions and lockdown and threat to people with COVID-19. It's just not the right time. This is a common one. I'm too old. Or the opposite could be I'm too young. Or I haven't got the experience. So if you can just keep writing any negative beliefs that come to you now around that sector. And one of the things that often comes in this sort of a conversation is that people they resist it. You don't want to write them down. I'm not sure if you're going to be that group that doesn't want to write them down, but just consider if you are, those thoughts and feelings that come to you, to resist writing something down. Because we all have this voice in our head, which is a human machinery, really. Some of it's automatic. And some of us, sometimes we're just resisting machines. So we're not actually present, we're just coming from an automatic thinking. So could you please share with us some of your negative beliefs? And of course, as you share, we might be able to see common themes, common beliefs. I saw we've got something typed up there. Gwen, could you share that?
Yeah, money.
Oh yeah, that's always one, isn't it? It's a big one. Yeah, thank you. So as you were writing, I want you to consider what your thoughts were, what emotions were there. And then I want you to think about, where did those negative beliefs come from? Are they truly yours? Or did you pick them up along the way from someone else? Okay, we've got some more coming in there, Gwen.
Open yourself to criticism.
Yeah, totally.
And we also have not the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the one with the opening up for criticism is quite common because, you know, we get, we get vulnerable, don't we? If somebody says to us that we're doing a bad job or we're not doing a good enough job, you know, we feel quite vulnerable, and then we withdraw. And some project we've started, we go back and retreat, and we stop taking action around it. Very common.
We also have others judging you.
Yeah, exactly.
And too late in the day, or too late to change.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for sharing, because those are very, very common. And of course, you know, that is sometimes how it occurs to you. So I'm going to go forward to the next slide, and thank you so much so keep engaging, keep writing in. So humans have between 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts in one day, and 90% of them are the same. So what are your thoughts? Yeah, so if these potential negative thoughts are reoccurring when you think about your project, you know, that is quite astounding, isn't it? So what I've got in my notes here, because I picked this this statement up at one of JoeDispenza's business corporate coaching programs. And so what we're saying here, be a guard on your mind. Be careful what you say to yourself, and what you allow others to say to you. Be mindful who your friends and influencers are. Are they inspiring leaders, or are they naysayers? Who are they? Do they complain and moan constantly? Do they criticize and blame others? Check the impact others have on your life. So if you could type in that chat box now, anybody there that you might be currently influencing, those negative beliefs that you've got. And you also want to be mindful of negative conversations you have with others, and others have on you, with you then every day. This becomes a habit very quickly. Then you're the negative person. So we're going to move on. So at last, I say, you're probably sick of all your negative there. So we're moving on to the positive beliefs. So what I want you to do now, I want you to look at your negative beliefs that you've written down. I want you to change them, change those statements to positive beliefs. Yep, that's right. I want you to rearrange the sentence to a positive belief. So that means scribbling out something that's a negative. Just look at the sentence again and put a line through anything that was negative. So, for example, if you wrote down it's too hard, change it to it's easy. And the people who have there, I don't have the money, to I have all the money I need to do this. And then the people who have got my partner will not agree to have this project take on to this when I want to. So I want you to change that to my partner will agree to this when I create this business plan. It's too risky. Change it to I weigh up all the pros and cons and still do it because I know I can. I always fail. Change it to I have succeeded many times and I will succeed again. And then the one current is not the right time with the restrictions, etc. So it's the perfect time to reflect and do this project now, as people will be keen to join me or help me with this during this lockdown. So notice how, when you changed the statement, how you felt and what your thoughts and any bodily sensations. Share in the chat box some new positive belief statements. Share some of the feelings. Yeah, you've got some there, Gwen?
We have, yeah. So we might as well say them out. Now I have more experience, which makes it the right time for change and progress. The right time will come after restrictions.
Great. Exactly.
I think you could see them. I think you can see them, Lilwen. If you just press on the Q&A at the bottom of the screen, you should be able to see them all, if it helps.
Okay, I'm fiddling about trying to find it here, but
that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not allowed. Well, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's not allowing me to. It's whether it's my my skill on the on the pad. I don't know.
Don't.
No, okay, thank you for helping, Gwen. Anyway, so we move on. So I thank you for sharing in the Q&A in that chat box, because it really helps to get, when you start to share things, they start to come through you as opposed into your mind, locked into your mind all the time, recycling, if you like. So this is a statement from Les Brown, who's a motivational speaker. Someone's opinion of you doesn't have to be your reality. And that really says it all there, doesn't it? And then, of course, the other part of this is, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And that was a famous quote by Henry Ford. So in the dictionary, belief is an acceptance that something exists or is true, especially one without proof. So we all know, like when we're planting seeds, when you sow your seed, you don't see anything happening. It's under the ground. You can't actually see anything for some time until it chits and gets going. So what I thought about here was, with regard to weeds, how we always see weeds growing everywhere. And they seem to thrive very quickly. And if you could just compare those weeds to your negative beliefs, how quickly they come in. So just be mindful. And Mahatma Gandhi said, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. So by writing down and eliminating those negative beliefs as you originally wrote them, some of you may say, well, you know, won't make any difference. The answer is, doesn't change it for a moment. You allow yourself to release those limiting beliefs and allow your mind to wonder and consider, what if you were to do your project and create your business the way you want? Immediately you allow your creative brain, your childlike thinking out to play. The adult who was influenced by failure or letdowns or objections has an opportunity to go again and make changes and make plans to win in your business. So we're going to move on. So now you're ready to move on to the next section of what I can see, because if we haven't established what your negative beliefs, we wouldn't really be moving forward into be able to move forward with the thinking. So you may have different opinion of what your success means to you. So your self-image is the one thing that shapes your decisions, and this is where your personal development really starts to shape your future. One of the most significant books Bob Proctor, another one of my mentors, shared with me is by the author Maxwell Maltz, called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's all about improving your self-image. So these might be daily actions to take to train your brain and improve that self-image. So only last week I was speaking to a member of my team, and she was looking to achieve an advancement in her ranking in her business. And anyway, she absolutely nailed it, and she actually went above and beyond, and she said she would achieve this rank by Friday, and she actually did it by Thursday evening. And when I asked her, I questioned her as to how she managed to do that quantum leap. Her answer was, I believed I could do it. And then she added, in your coaching, on the call the day before, I was scared and felt blocked, but you didn't give me any permission to stop. You believed in me. So when you're stopped or scared, who believes in you? Who nudges you to step out of your comfort zone and keep going? Who doesn't see anything you do as a failure? They just see it as you're getting closer to your goals. These are simple daily practices I've written up here. So if you could write them down, copy them, write them down on your notebook and take on at least 2 of these 4 steps. And if you're up to playing a big game in your business, do all 4 of them. Make a committed decision and discipline yourself to do them for 90 days and see for yourself the results in your business. Type in the chat box, let me know if you will take this on, either 2 or 4 things. And then get back, send me a message in 90 days and let me know what happened. So have you all written that up now? I don't know. I think that's enough time. Anything else in the chat box, Gwen, there?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So this is quite a rare sight to these to planes at the moment, isn't it? We haven't got many planes flying at the moment. So, but what I wanted to show here was an example. So on the left-hand side for me, anyway, on December the 17th, 1903, the Wright Brothers from Ohio took 4 short flights in this first powered aircraft. And then on the right-hand side, in 2019, there were between 8,000 to 20,000 planes in mid-flight at any given moment, every day. So the point here is, do you think the Wright brothers had a belief that they would fly back in 1903? Do you think the Wright brothers failed? And do you think the Wright brothers gave up? Do you think the Wright brothers got going again on their dream with no financial backing? They ran a bicycle shop. They did not get any government funding, like some designers and academics who attempted to get a machine to fly, because they sponsored some academics to actually get a plane established, and they didn't achieve. So what did the Wright brothers have that the others didn't have? Please write in the chat box what you think that might be. So what I've got up here is, I believe that they made a committed decision and their powerful minds came up with more ideas and more creative solutions until they flew.
Yes, we've got down driven, determination, motivation, ambition.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, all very positive, forward thinking, aren't they? All those words, really.
Yeah, we've got self-confidence, belief.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also we have just a quick question. Will this work for personal development, not just in business?
Absolutely will. Yeah. It works, it's personal and professional development. So it will work across the board, because what we're doing, we're going internal, we're looking at your beliefs. That could be in any area of your life. And it, from looking at your health and well-being, looking at your physical body, your family communications, anything. It really, really does work. So if you take on those gratitude lists and taking on whatever sector, and you can have a goal in any area of your life, of course. Okay, so thank you for joining and writing in there. So what daily actions are you going to take on in your business? And if that person there that's talked about outside of the business into personal life, if they take on a sector in their personal life and do exactly the same as we've done here for business, what would be your actions? What are you going to be focused on? So again, I think if you can write this down, that would be really helpful for you to take on. So bringing clarity and vision to what you were doing. And thinking about how you're being. Are you being happy? Are you being joyful about it? Are you being light and easy about it all? Keep this simple. Let's not overthink and create more stories. The simpler, the better. Less clutter in your mind and state, as it has already happened in your reality. This has a power to draw it towards you in the future. So the review this daily and write it out in the present tense. Be grateful. The attitude of gratitude is where success is. Being grateful tells your subconscious mind it's already happened. So if we're going to be going forward with any of your plans right now, anybody who's on the call who's got a specific area that you've worked on, what I invite you to write in the chat box, what is the first action that you might want to take after leaving this webinar? I invite you to write that down. Because when we look at accountability, that is a big part of being successful. A lot of people have someone who's accountable. So to make them accountable to do what that you say you're going to do. So who is going to be your accountable? And are you truly grateful? Are you truly grateful for everything you have in your life currently? And it's not looking at the grass is greener on the other side. So whatever you have in your life right now, are you truly grateful? So I've come to the end of the actual slides and what have you. So I want to say a big thank you. So I thank you for joining and also for playing along. And I'm sure we'll read a little bit more in a minute. So I wish you every success in your venture and your business. And please, before the end of the day, have a look on the mentoring list and decide today you're going to get a mentor or a coach to support your success. As the motivational speaker Les Brown says, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. Thank you.
Thank you, Lilwen. Yeah, we've got some cute questions coming in. Let me just read a few out for you. So we've got down to make a list of what needs to be done around the farm and setting goals to when these projects will be done.
Wonderful. That's
quite
great.
positive.
Yeah, and it's more than positive, because what you've done there, you've set a time frame. So when that date, when it's done, and then as soon as you set a time frame, so say by I don't know, the end of June or something, you've made that decision. What happens is you'll see more actions to take, because if you don't give a by when date, it's a wish. It's sometimes it might never happen. So as soon as you really, really drill down and get an end point, just the same as this, you're running today, the webinar, I had to get this done by today. That was it. I could have faffed about and changed it and altered it. And of course I did. But at some point I had to finish and make a decision. This is what my presentation looks like. So if I didn't have a by when date, it may not have happened.
Yeah, we've also got get a journal and write these, start some mindful thinking.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So again, writing things down, isn't it? It can help sometimes, like tick the box off. So if you've done a job, tick it off. It kind of gives you that feeling then that you've succeeded in something.
Exactly. And you've achieved. And actually you can see it's a bite-sized chunks, isn't it? It makes it more manageable, because quite often when you've got a big project and you've got a big idea and you really want to take something on and you feel it could be overwhelming, you could get an overwhelming feeling. So if you think too much about it and it's too big, it won't happen. Whereas if you sort of bite-sized chunk it down into small little actions, and then every time you go to sleep at night, you can close your eyes knowing what you've achieved and not feeling that sense of, oh, it's not possible.
Yeah, we've got one then saying to set a task and then to see it to the end. And then she also thanks you for today's presentation. And it's made her rethink things and look at things in a different way in the business. And she says you're an inspiration.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. And on that, completing things, I've got some affirmations, and I know on social media there's loads of affirmations at the moment, and I've always not really been into them, and I just thought, oh, it's it doesn't make any difference. But I've got some on little post notes along where I sit at my desk, and I'll read you a couple of them out now. I complete everything I start. How would that be if we completed everything we started? So it's just a little reminder. And then I've got another one here. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because if it's all familiar and comfortable, you're probably not pushing yourself where you could be. And then I've got, I'm not sure if I've done this one, but it says, when I communicate with others, I only say enough. So that's more about the listening. So you can listen to others, be more present.
We also have generally taking charge and responsibility for the future. It is in our hands and control and nobody else's.
Wow. Wow. That is very, very powerful statement. And taking responsibility for ourselves is a huge one. And I can put my hand up that I really didn't do that until I started personal development. I would be pointing my finger everywhere except for back at myself. So responsibility for what we do, what we say, how we are with others, it's a huge one. Congratulations for getting to that. And also, when you take responsibility, you can't be a victim of your circumstances, because all of a sudden it flips it. Because believe me, I was a victim for a very long time, and it doesn't work. It really doesn't. So that's a really great statement, to take responsibility. And it doesn't have to be bad or wrong, or it's a big task. It's just a brilliant statement.
Also, does a vision board help?
Wow, yes, it does. I don't know if I could share my vision board with you, because I've got it. I sit with it every day and it's right beside me. Can I share that with you?
Yeah, so if you just share screen, if you just put that off, we'll go on your video. We can see you then, and then you could...
Okay, go on my video.
So if you click stop video or...
Oh, there we are. Gosh, I feel like I haven't done this before. It's weird, isn't it? So when I'm doing it,
there we go.
Webinar, okay. So here's my vision board. And I don't know if you can see there. I don't know if you can read anything. But I did this just after Christmas, and I did it in a workshop. I went up to London to do it actually, and it was a fantastic workshop. But there you are. I've just, they had loads of, there must have been about 150 people in the room. So, but what that does, and I've got it just beside me here, it just reminds you of what you said you wanted and what was important. Because during your day-to-day, life and how we get bogged down with things, you forget about really what was important to you, especially when you're a mom and you're busy and you've got work to do and you've got cows to feed or whatever it is, or you're milking, whatever you're doing in your day-to-day practice, so I've got up there, move up a gear. That was one of them, because I've been coasting. Yeah.
Okay, we have someone saying, I will adapt the 4 of the, when we discussed about adapting 2 or 4, and will message you in 90 days and tell you how I've got on. So that would be great.
That would be brilliant. Brilliant.
We also have a thank you. You've allowed me to press the reset button and take a step back and reassess our approach.
Fantastic. And that's all we always want to do, isn't it? Is to have permission sometimes to reset. Sometimes we need somebody else to sort of point us or help us. And this is where a mentor comes in, because, when you're looking at your own life or your own business, whatever it might be, you can't see what's in your blind spot. It's just outside of your vision. So somebody else can see it. And I'm going to share something with you. When I asked Lilwen if I could share the image, because I saw it and I thought, oh, it's such a beautiful image. And I asked for her permission. And I got permission from her. But what was there, that she didn't think it looked good. She didn't think that image looked good. Can you imagine that? So it's our own self-image, what she felt. So, and what we're saying, what I said, you look fantastic. And it's just a great image of, a woman busy doing her thing, isn't it?
In the industry, yeah, of course.
In the industry, yeah.
We have another person saying, I check in with my thoughts, and rather than tell myself or others that I feel some emotion, such as frustrated or happy, I tell myself I am frustrated, which then prompts me to address why.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great awareness. Yeah, really great awareness, because awareness is the key really behind everything, because until you become aware, you can't change anything. That's what I'm getting from that. Yeah.
And we also have, have at the beginning, there was a few questions at the beginning because they're all flooding in. And it was when we were talking about the negative thoughts, we had someone saying, I am scared that is a total change and I will fail. I take criticism personally when I shouldn't. So we tend to, don't we, just put ourselves down quite fast, and we be like, oh, I couldn't do it, or I give up. But then sometimes you just need the determination maybe, and the drive to just go forward.
Yeah, but you can have as much determination and drive, and you do need it, but sometimes you need somebody to support you along. And this is something that we resist quite often, to get help outside of ourselves, because we see it as a sign of weakness. So if we put our hand up and say we need help, often it looks like, oh, we can't do it. It's not the truth, because as we collaborate and come together, and we share, but really it's either in a professional setting with a mentor or a coach or a counselor, depending on what you're thinking. But they will be able to see things that we can't, and we don't. The should part. I'd invite you to take the should out of the conversation, because we all know. We're all pretty harsh with ourselves often. And one of the things I always think about is, a story of a child walks into Granny's house, if you like, or Mangi's house, and they run in and they're all excited to see Mangi, and they knock off a beautiful vase that's got flowers on it, and it crashes on the floor. They've just arrived in the house and they run in, they're all excited, and the vase falls on the floor. Now, does Mangi need to say anything or tell that little child off? Not really. They feel upset themselves. So I'm mindful of, when you run in all excited and you might slip on the floor, you don't need to tell yourself off. If you broke that vase or whatever, it's broken, it's gone. It's not important. What is important is that you feel that you can, get back up and you can buy another vase. Yeah, because we're very, very fast at criticism, self-criticism.
Yeah, because one of the girls said the fear of failure.
Yeah.
Isn't it? But then maybe it's a way of how we structure ourselves. Maybe we should, instead of putting a target which is up here, targets along the way, so we get to the highest point. It might take a little bit longer. Maybe is that what you would say to little steps?
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you say with the target being smaller, but I think you still have to have a larger end goal. Because when I start mentoring people or when I'm coaching people, I ask them, what do you want to be doing in 25 years' time? And that takes people out of the present, and they go, 25? God, I can't imagine. So then we work out how old they'll be in 25 years' time. And then we put the age they'll be. And all of a sudden, they have to come out of themselves to look to the future. So once you look at a long-term goal, well, if it's so far in the future, you're not going to feel a failure if you don't get there tomorrow, because you've put it straight out. But what you've done is put a roadmap up. Yeah, so you've got a roadmap. So say if for example, if I don't have a roadmap of where I'm going and I wanted to go to Carmarthen this afternoon, I could ended up going completely and I've done that several times. I've gone a hell of a long way around to go to Carmarthen several times in my life and in reality. So if you don't have that sort of end, it could be a dream or a wish, but the reality is, and then you bring it back to, well, what actions am I going to take today to go towards it? And exactly like you said, then the small little successes grows our confidence. And who's confident every day of their life? I don't know anyone. And if they're telling you they're liars usually. It's not possible. But the reality is that we celebrate. That's the other part, is celebrating your win. When you do get a small goal, whatever it might be. And, with all the things that are going on with the pandemic and the COVID, we hear of people quite frightened of going out the front door, some people, things like that. But even getting out the front door, getting in the car, getting into, going somewhere you haven't been for these last few months is an achievement. Because, people, there's a lot of scaremongering. And what we want to do is move away from the fear and into the love and into the positive side. And then when you always stay there, then you can actually filter through what you allow to come through. And your body sensations and everything else might be telling you, this is really scary. But it's having somebody, my request is, who's on the webinar right now who've got a mentor and who are going to take the action and get a mentor. Because it's all right talking about it, but actually taking the action, filling in the form, taking the risk, and the first mentor you have might not be the right one for you. You want to, just sit with it and play with it. It's not bad or wrong. There's nothing wrong with swapping mentors if the first one isn't working out or whatever.
No, you're quite right there. You're quite right. Also, if there's, if you feel like you don't have enough experience, because we've got someone say not enough experience, and you just feel maybe you've failed before you've even begin. So, and like yourself, you've been back to university and you've studied again. So, that takes quite a lot of encouragement. Or who supported you through that? Were you just self-motivating and you told yourself, right, I've got to do this, I've got to go back, this is what I want to do? What was the process like for you?
Well, I hope my sister's not on the on the webinar, but my bless her. But what happened with me was my sister said, you better go and work in Tesco's. And nothing wrong with anybody who works in Tesco's. I'm not saying it is, but what was there for me was from the sort of point of running my own business with my ex-husband and doing several things, I didn't know what was ahead of me. I really didn't. But the reality was the thought of working in Tesco's over the next 25 years didn't really appeal to me. Even if I was to, if I absolutely loved working Tesco's, absolutely fine, but I really didn't. And I didn't know what was there. So the motivation, I think, has to come from you. And of course you can have people outside of you, but until you drill down to see what you're passionate about. And I've always been curious about people and how the mind works, and I've really always had that sort of, curiosity. And it can be a bit annoying sometimes for people because I always ask questions. But the reality is, I think it has to come from inside. But sometimes doing personal development gets you to get the experience. Yeah, because just feeling that you don't have the experience, it might not be true. You might have a little bit of experience, and then of course you go and you join a course, go on webinars like this, or go on to YouTube, do some study on your own, read books. I've got some books here. So the one I talked about was Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by JoeDispenza. It's not for the faint-hearted, it's quite thick and what have you, but it's absolutely brilliant. Then I've got a small skinny one here, which is U Squared. And this is the one that I got, the lady I'm working with, that ranked really high last week. It's basically about quantum leaps, about, it's not the next normal step. You jump steps in and reading these books, and not just reading them once, reading them over and over and over. I'm involved in quite a few book clubs. So book clubs with people that I'm connected to, maybe not necessarily in Wales, some of them are. But what happens there is I'm motivated because I'm reading with someone else and we share experiences as we go along. So reading a book once that's inspiring you, your brain won't hold that information. But if you read it over and over, there's one book I've been reading for 90 days, one chapter. Yeah, I know, it's mad. I'm mad because I didn't know that was possible. I wouldn't even dream of it before. But one of my mentors, Bob Proctor, has been reading the book that he read from Neville Goddard for over 50 years, the same book.
Joe.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. But
sorry, we have someone asking, can young people get a mentor on helping with career in agriculture, or is it just people already in the business? Well, I'm going to answer kind of this on my side, and then I'm going to lead to you, is that a mentor can be for young people in the industry. I myself have had a mentor before starting my own business, so it's just someone to support you and maybe give you more advice, and someone that has maybe a contact details that you could lead into something else. So yes, they can have it through Farming Connect, but there's a range of mentors to choose from, and then I'll just pass to you if you want to just add to that.
Yeah, totally. I think it would be a very wise decision because these mentors have been through some of the experiences that you might want to go forward and do. So, if it's an industry one, if, for example, I know Cheryl is on later. So with regard to calf rearing, so if you wanted to go into calf rearing, for example, and thought that's an option, of course, why wouldn't you get a mentor? I think it's great. And the sooner you start to take on mentors, the better, I believe, because also as we get older, we get less coachable. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that, is that, we know it all. And as soon as you think you know it all, something comes along and trips you right up, and then you fall flat on your face. And this is the problem, because people out there in any industry, they call themselves experts. And as soon as you call yourself an expert, you're out there to be ridiculed and a little bit attacked sometimes. But what I want to consider with that, when we're looking out at other people, is just consider, if you're criticizing others, you're probably criticizing yourself. Yeah. So be generous with your mentor as well, you know, because, you know, the communication is key, because quite often you'll say something, you know, other people say something, and there's miscommunication. And, you know, assume nothing, confirm everything is another great statement. So don't assume. So, you know, it's easy for us to assume that we know what the other person is saying. And be brave enough to go and ask the question again and say you're not sure. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, please explain further.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, one of the biggest gift is communication. We really are fortunate with communication, and luckily to be on, you know, on this live webinar. And one of the things is often when we're in communication with people, just to also remember when we're in face-to-face particularly, you know, I think it's about 90% is non-verbal. So if you get a mentor that looks a bit like a grumpy person that you met in the past, you might just think, oh God, that's just like that person. So you won't even give them a chance or an opportunity. So it's about being really generous in communication with others, I think, to learn.
Okay, we've got someone saying, I'm going to get a mentor. I have done a lot of personal development, and I think my missing piece of the jigsaw is having a mentor to support myself when I need it. And she's also said, I go back into my chimp paradox time and time again.
Chimp paradox. I'm not sure what that means. You want to explain that?
Well, I'm not sure myself, but I thought you would know.
No, well, you see, you assumed I knew. I haven't got a clue. It's a classic example. No.
But it's quite true though, having a mentor, because obviously the sessions are run, you know, hourly or 2 hours. So they're not all at one time. So they can phone back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks time and see how you're getting on. So I think that's a good thing. It gives you like a date to look forward to, right? She's going to phone me then. Have I done what what I should have done in the time? Isn't it? So it gives you a little bit of build up as well, isn't it? Because it could be throughout a year or a few months, just to help you develop as well.
Exactly. And I always, when I'm mentoring people, what I also do is, if there's a team of people, if there's a family unit that's working on a business or what have you, I get them to be accountable to each other as well. And, you know, you put those timelines in your diary, so you know it's got to be done by X.
Yes. Well, we have come to the end. The time has just flown by, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was fantastic to have the question and answer at the end, so everyone could just ask the questions they needed to be answered.
Yeah, brilliant.
Fantastic. I've really enjoyed myself as well. I've learned a lot. So thank you very much, Lilwen.